is Formula Rich Allinson, who was actually one of Prince William's flying instructors when he was going through his helicopter training. So there's a nice royal connection there.
And also interesting that these the helicopters can fly lower, so that's one of the reasons it's safe for them.
They can, and they have slightly different rules when it comes to cloud base and how close to the weather they can get because of their slower speed.
Right, and even though it's very rainy then, it's not too dangerous for them today?
It's within the safety limits, it's right on the edge, which is why unfortunately we couldn't get the other aircraft, but absolutely within limits for the helicopters and for the...
Wow, awesome!
Right overhead, right over the palace, everybody looks up, and
so at the top of the
sorry, go ahead.
No, so at the top of the screen there was the army formation, so a wildcat and 2 of the AH-64s, so they're coming over now. So we've got formations initially from the Navy, then the Army, then the Royal Marines, and then finally the Royal Air Force.
And the King and the Prince of Wales both looking up there and understanding both as helicopter pilots. That's interesting.
It is.
They know what it takes.
Well, we've got the first monarch who can fly a helicopter. He was in his naval days. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was actually very good Wessex helicopter pilot,
Yes.
top of his class. So he knows what's going through their minds. And of course, the Prince of Wales has flown many helicopters, so there's a lot of expertise up there. If they're flying the wrong way, I'm sure they won't just hear about it from their immediate bosses.
Now you see everybody else is tilting their heads up apart from the King and Queen, but of course they've got something to be mindful of, so it's just eyes up for them.
An occupational hazard of the head that wears the crown is you can't look down, as the Queen used to say, you've got to read your speech looking straight ahead.
So they're making a fair sound.
The Red Arrows, because they are a professional display team, they can work to greater weather limits than the other aircraft who have unfortunately been unable to join us. So we do get a chance to see the iconic Red Arrows in their red, white and blue as they come down.
Yay! Woohoo!
They're currently in their 59th season. They've got another 60 displays to do this year.
And where are those displays? Are they all over the world, or do they tend to be in the British Isles?
So the majority in the British Isles, but they do go all over the world.
And this is the moment.
God save the king. Yeah. Glorious and storious, long to live over us. God save the King.
To have a successful coronation, not only that people come out onto the streets for, but actually that just simply goes well in terms of logistics, because the amount of input, the amount of planning, and the amount of pressure is enormous.
It is enormous. I like it as early as it is. It's the day the monarch, if you like, the sort of matter to the people. There's all that stress. Now it's sort of downtime. One of the most charming scenes from the Queen's Park, those pictures afterwards of what goes on in the palace. And now they're going to get back inside for photographs. I'd love to see those photographs. It was actually back in 1953, one of the maids of honour had to stop the king there, age 4, grabbing that crown off the table and running off with it. So I wonder if Prince Louis is going to reprise that role now.
He's got that look about him, hasn't he? Let's be honest.
He's definitely up to something. But that's
and as you said,
watch those robes there, they were like water of oil.
and that sight in those army robes with the crown on, we're not going to see that.
That's Coronation Day, that's the only day that happens. It's wonderful to see.
to stand in the day and to be part of it all and to put on the Union Jack bowler hats and have a few beers. You know, it is about tradition.
It's about tradition, it's continuity. I thought one of the most striking things, the new addition to this very, very ancient service, right at the start, it began not with not with the Archbishop of Canterbury, it began with a 14-year-old boy effectively saying to the king, that chorister, Andrew Strafford, effectively saying, "Why are you here? What have you been here?" And he said, "I'm here to serve." I think that was such an important preface to the whole thing. Throughout this immense grandeur and tradition, we've just seen this note of kind of humility all day. Just from constitutionally, religiously, just sort of explaining where this king belongs in the sort of national landscape, if you like. Yes, he's.
Yes, Kirsty, I am on the Mall. I think I have had the best seat in the house all day on the iconic Red Road that has seen numerous processions, ceremonies, weddings, funerals, and now, after 70 years, a coronation. And it's been about the people down here, and, well, we could just ask the people, have you had a good time? Union Jacks, we've seen all the hats, we've seen all the outfits, and people have travelled from all over the world to be here. And it's not just been about the crowds down here, some of them have camped overnight, it's about all the volunteers as well, the armed forces, St John's Ambulance, the stewards that have made this whole day run like clockwork. And the biggest privilege that everyone here, including myself, have is that we can all say, we were here to witness the coronation. We'll have that forever. So it's been a great day from the Mall.
Thanks very much, Anissa. Well, there we see the brollies are up. We can't dampen the spirits, but it is dampening the hair. So the brollies are up, and people have had their moment, the moment of seeing the crowned king and queen on the balcony in their ermine robes at Buckingham Palace. It's not a day we will see again because it's unique to Coronation Day. And for all of those people that chose to be part of it, quite a scene indeed. Well, Robert Hartman and David Olusoga are here just to chat through. I mean,
to actually see it is historic. Today we've been reminded of the deep religious history of the country. There's been echoes of the 17th century in the oaths, echoes of the medieval age in the other sacraments of the coronation. That sense of continuity, that sense of tradition, as an historian, is absolutely fascinating. So, in that level, I think it is a remarkable thing to witness. Now it's done, the new reign formally begins. Lots of questions about the monarchy as well now. They're up for discussions, they always are, and always have been.
yes, well, let's have a little bit of a discussion about it because most of the people who in the census, answer the question of whether or not you're religious, we see at the heart of today, this religious ceremony, most people in Britain say no, they're not churchgoers anymore, they're not Christian, we have lots of different faiths as well, we saw them represented in the ritual of today. Do you think when you look at a day like today, it is really about being, above all else, nostalgic? Is that what you think it's about?
I'm not sure, and I think nostalgia is loaded with pejoratives. It's in
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I think tradition is a more useful
Okay.
word. I think what you saw today was a strong representation and a huge effort to show the diversity of faith within Britain. One of the things that's very different between the Britain of today and the Britain of 1953. I think it's more difficult with a 1,000-year-old ceremony to reflect the other thing you mentioned, which is the fact that we are one of the most secular nations in the world. So you can have diversity of faith, but the lack of faith, which is a big factor in modern Britain, that's much harder to build into the ceremony. You can't, there's only so far you can modernise a 1,000-year-old ceremony without
Yes.
it stopping being that ceremony.
I mean, it's interesting, Robert Hartman, that we heard today, and we knew we were going to hear it, of course, defender of the faith. There was a time, I mean, was it in the early 90s when the then Prince
Helen and Kate.
his coronation, so that's very clearly been rolled back, and it was made clear, and I think that over time he maybe realised that as somebody who's head of the Church of England, that was not necessarily the most appropriate approach.
No, but I think it was an aspiration when he said it was back in 1994. Brilliant. How many years was that? Maybe 30 years. But it was
3, 2, 1. Oh, we've
it
been
was
3
how
years
he
old.
viewed the role, and actually, the late Queen articulated that herself in 2012 at her Diamond Jubilee. She made a speech to faith leaders at Lambeth Palace, and she talked about how she felt that the monarch had a duty to protect. And the same applies now. It's I think that oath, that sort of extra pre-oath oath, if you like, that we heard at the Abbey today, where the Archbishop says, your role is to help people to worship freely, and the King said, I will. So it was sort of there. It wasn't explicit, but it's very much understood that that's part of the role of a 21st century monarch. Is we may live in a more secular society,